So hello friends, so we have been looking at the economic survey. So this will be the part 3 of economic survey, and we have already seen part 1 and 2. So anyone who has not seen the part 1 and 2, please look at it. Part 1 and 2 will cover till budget. So they will be covering important aspects of budget and things. This part 3, okay, this part 3 will cover inflation. So important inflation related topics in economic survey. Accordingly, how the RBI monetary policies. So see, all this has a connection. We cannot read each one separately. There needs to be an understanding of how everything is connected, and especially economic survey gives you that gives you that leverage of studying everything in a holistic fashion. So without any delay, we'll go to the topic. So we'll talk about we'll talk about how this things come up. Now we'll see. So from inflation, I think last video, please do check it. It comes till this part of inflation. This is what we will check here. But here, look at one more interesting, or not interesting. See, it's an important question. World economic outlook. Okay, this economic survey also has this reports. Many of the question in UPSC prelims, they ask from, or this reports, they ask from this economic survey. World economic outlook, who? It is IMF. Yeah, please, you can note it down. So so in that report, what it gives is it talks about the economic development of countries, and it also talks about inflation importantly. And inflation in this starting figure, if you see, it is an inflation of consumer price index, inflation of different countries. It is not India, it is of different countries, or advanced countries and emerging countries. And you look at this pattern. So from 2014, you look at this pattern. It was, see, till 2020, it was going okay. Okay, to consumer price index was going okay, but after 2020, it has peaked. Why this has happened? Inflation, if you see, inflation, what is inflation? Inflation is two types, correct? One is when there is a less product, or high demand, less supply. So supply side constraint. Another is more wages, cost push inflation. Yeah, more cost. So cost push inflation. So in 2020, if you happen to see, there was a reduction in supply, correct? There was a reduction in supply because the whole world shut down. All the logistics shut down. So obviously inflation should increase. Second point is there. This is one factor, correct? Second factor also played a part. How means not improved wages, rather, fiscal expansion. What is the meaning of fiscal expansion is that each country increased its fiscal deficit. Increased its borrowing in order to pump in more money. Why in order to pump in more money is that because Corona came, everything got shut down, no one wanted to work. If you had to work, you had to put in money into the pocket of the person. So on the one hand, money supply increased. On the other hand, supply decreased. So obviously inflation peaked. So this is the logic of inflation. This is what will be questioned as well. They are not going to ask you what is inflation. They will ask you terms related to these things. So now you look at this pattern. So this is again, so inflation in different countries. Again, see this is a pattern of consumer price inflation increasing. So increasing, now actually it is decreasing. This is later part. Now why it is decreasing is that, see, till here inflation is there high, right? So why after this increase there is a decrease? You should question that. UPSC conceptual question that they will always ask. And if you happen to see, they increased the, as I told you, increased the spending, correct? increased the spending. Why? Because 2020 crisis. 2020 crisis, you had to increase spending, inflation increased, but after this, inflation becomes very high and it becomes detrimental to the economy. Hence, you had to reduce, and that is how you will reduce. Federal Reserve, United States Federal Reserve, RBI, all these central banks will increase interest rate. So whether interest rate is increased or decreased depends upon all these things. And this is what will be called as the monetary policy. So when you increase the interest rate, you decrease the money supply, hence you will decrease the inflation. But we'll see, this is the graph, but we'll see in depth how things happen. But before that, we should know what is this consumer price index is. One component you should know. Consumer price index, preliminary examination. What is the base year? This is the base year. Note it down. This is the base year of consumer price index, which is 2012. But the composition of a consumer price index is very, very important. Composition, food and beverages. See, look at it. It is 45.9. Okay. There is also one thing called as WPI, wholesale price index. This is consumer price index. Another is, sorry, this is CPI, consumer price index. Another is wholesale price index. In consumer price index, we will measure products which the consumer consumes. So in terms of logic, if you see, consumer will consume a lot of food, no? So you will have a higher percentage of weightage in consumer price index. But not so in the case of wholesale price index. Wholesale price index is about, you know, input of input products, input for factories, input for large scale things, you know. So now come to this point of food and beverages having 45%. The next, see, look at this, the composition. In this, another interesting factor is there. In this, if you see, consumer price index has these services. So, see, basically what they are doing is that whatever consumer is consuming, see, you are consuming something that they are taking, okay, a consumer price index, your consumption, regular human common person consumption, they are taking it, they are making into an index. So you will have these things, you know, services will be there. That is, housing will, because housing, see, everyone, even I am also looking for a house for rent. So rent, I have to pay, right? So housing, fuel, again, travel, okay, household goods and services, healthcare, education. So for example, if you have to join some coaching institute, you have to pay education. All this we are using. But now come to the point of wholesale price index. I'll show you the composition of wholesale price index. In wholesale price index, this will not be there. Services is no services, because it talks about wholesale. That is, wholesale means any input, copper, so you know, steel, all this are input materials for something. So it will talk about all that goods, wholesale goods. It will also have some good, it will also have some food component, but the food component also is an input component, not a consumer component. This is the final list. But here you should know one important term, which is called as core inflation. Yeah, here food inflation is something. So the core inflation is, see, what is the meaning of core inflation? Something which is not volatile, no volatility. Not volatile, meaning in what is the meaning of not volatile? Food is volatile, fuel is volatile. So that is, volatility means in a small change it will affect. So if food is small change, let us assume that El Nino is coming, food will get affected, index will get affected. Fuel, some Russian crisis happens, okay, Russia invades Ukraine, fuel supply decreases, again it will be impacted. But not so in the case of core inflation. Those are things which are in this, if you look at it, if you subtract fuel and food, you will get core. That is what is called as core inflation, and that is what usually monetary policy and fiscal policy statement they take into account for all this policy making. So that is what is the thing. But now come to this point. So food inflation declining, but core inflation is high. And this is one factor which happened. So why, you see, food inflation, as I told you, the CPI component has food inflation, core inflation, fuel, all these components are there. So food inflation actually reduced. In a sense, if you look at it, because of, during the time of Corona, many other supplies decreased, but they kept in food, food supply was kept correctly. And first video, if you check it, growth in agriculture was standard 3.5%. First video, check it. Okay, so growth in agriculture was correct. So food inflation was correct because supply is there. Correct? If supply is, inflation, what? Supply should reduce, but supply is there. Inflation, food inflation is contained. But core inflation was the problem. Core inflation kept on increasing. So look at this. So you will have this, core inflation increasing. Why this core inflation is increasing? What is core inflation? Core inflation is in the CPI inflation minus food and fuel. If you minus all this, you will get the services. Okay, you will get all these services. What is this core now? You minus the complete CPI minus food and fuel, you will get all these services. When you get, see why? So you should ask this question. Food is actually, supply is good. Then why this core inflation is increasing? If you ask this question, you think about after 2020. After 2020, we were actually in one place, correct? 3, 4, 6, 7 months in one place. After that, everyone wanted to bring in education. See, after that, everyone wanted to go into, we were online. So then why we came offline? Every student wanted to, sir, only online class, offline class, See, education, they were ready to come. Housing. See, everyone wanted to go and buy some house. After that, recreation. After that, after Corona, you look at how, different places. You are going to Bali, things. You are buying things. So after Corona, after 2020, why this core inflation kept on increasing is that because, and that is what survey says. That is what survey says. Core inflation, why it is increasing? Because it has this see, food inflation, they contained it, but this they could not contain. And look at this. This is what, see, here you will find it. See, education. See, look at this. This is education. See how it has increased, 5.2. Recreation and amusement, it was 1.7. Sorry, 1.7 is the weight. It was 4.9. See, look at 6.4. Household goods and services, it was 6. Actually, it has little decreased, but on a miscellaneous, so it has increased. All the products that the household needs, all the services that an household needs, it is increasing. That is why core inflation is increasing, but food inflation has decreased because supply was kept in correctly. See, this is how this map is, and these are, these are components. For example, food inflation is also high post 2020. What? Abdina, vegetable, so milk, all these things. See, look at this. These are the things which are increasing food inflation. Yeah, this is actually low. So meat, fish, all this is usually, these are the culprits. Usually oil, for 2022 and all, oil, pulses will be the culprit. But now what has happened is that vegetables, milk products and cereals are causing this increase, and that is why milk products in Tamil Nadu also, I think this problem came. The rate of milk has increased. The state government is answerable to many things. One thing is increase in price of milk. So this is a phenomena which is creating increase in food price, but food price index is reducing. Because we have managed, see, vegetable, this is price rise in vegetables and potato, onion, all this has reduced. All this has reduced because we were able to maintain a proper growth rate in agriculture and a proper supply. See, supply correct it will not increase the inflation. Correct? That is what is inflation. The next is next is imported inflation in edible oils. This is what I said. Edible oils usually are the culprits. Look at this. Oils and fats. This will create the highest component in inflation. But Anna, it's actually now, now we have imported nearly equivalent amount for consumption. So you are not having inflation. But there was a question in UPSC where they asked about this is import of edible oils. See, look at how much, and if you see, it is not stable. It's not stable, correct? It's not increasing. UPSC asked this question. Edible oil imports have increased exponentially. You look at from 2016, it has increased, decreased somewhat like this, not increased exponentially. So that was the question UPSC asked. But next also, now see, actually edible oil also was becoming a problem. Why it was becoming a problem? Russia invaded Ukraine, and you would know that, see, sunflower oil and all was imported from Ukraine. Hence, you did not have that much sunflower oil imported from there. Hence, the inflation increased. But now they have contained it. As I told you, food inflation we have contained. We are not able to contain the core inflation. Core inflation is because of consumption in services. Okay? This is the thing I took it from newspaper. This is the question they asked. This is our import, domestic production. This is domestic production. This is import. If you see, our domestic production is actually lesser than, or it was higher earlier, but now it is lesser than the production. Lesser than the import. Why? Because now, that is why government is giving so much of incentive for producing oil seeds and things like that. Because we are importing a lot, especially from Indonesia, Southeast Asia. We are having this ASEAN Pact, From this ASEAN Pact, these countries are exporting a lot of oil into our country, and that is actually creating a lot of CAD balance or current account deficit. CAD deficit. So that you should reduce. That is why we are promoting a lot of schemes. If you see, oil seeds promotion schemes will be there. So that is what is the oil seeds. Next is, if you see, I kept this is inflation in different, retail inflation in different states. Why I kept this is that there was one question where they asked poverty in different states. Okay, poverty in different states is different, right? See, poverty line in Tamil Nadu is different. Poverty line in Bihar is different. The person who is considered as poor in Tamil Nadu will be different, Gujarat will be different, Maharashtra will be different, Bihar will be different. Why? The prices are different. That is, the price relationship is different. And inflation is also different. Each state will have a different inflation. And hence the poverty line will be different. So when a question like that comes in preliminary examination, when you know these things, see, look at these things, inflation is different in different state. Then the component or, prices of different things in different state is different. So obviously poverty line, see here somebody having 4 idli is not the same in Bihar. Okay? So it will be different. So you should know this. That is the only thing. And then we come to this wholesale price index. This is the index which I said. This index, if you see, has maximum in manufactured products. Correct? Maximum in manufactured products. Then you will have fuel and fuel and power 13. So this is maximum. Food is 22. It's very less. There 44.5. Right? Primary articles or food related articles, it was 44.5. That is consumer. This is wholesale. This is manufactured. This is input. These products are input for manufacturing. So wholesale price index does not measure your consumption, day-to-day consumption. No, it is measuring the wholesale thing. Hence, the external environment is very, very important. But here also there is a core inflation. Here also there is a core inflation where you are reducing. See, as I told you, core inflation is nothing but inflation minus volatile substances. If there is a volatile substance here, you minus it, you will get the core inflation. Volatile substance here is food and fuel. They are also food and fuel now. You minus it, you will get the core inflation. So now, and then this is the base here. So note it down. This is the base here. This is the office. So this is the office of Economic Advisor. So who releases WPI? This is what. Next comes this. So you have this declining core inflation and and food inflation. Why this decline happened? So if you see, as I told you, after this, they pumped in the money, but now they are declining, or they pumped in the money. Now their rate is increased. Okay, federal rate has increased. Our repo rate has increased. So why, if inflation is high, what should the RBI do? It should increase its repo rate. That is, you are increasing the rate at which you are giving money. That means you are making the money costly. So when it is costly, supply will reduce. When supply is reducing, you will reduce the inflation. Simple. That is the logic of what is called as the monetary policy of India. The next is this, next is what means you will have this. They are, as I told you, the components of core industries is very important, because wholesale price index, it will have this feature, or wholesale price index will have this feature of high manufactured products. So you should know that you should have this core index also into account. There is separate. This is actually separate. This is separate. That is separate. This is IIP index. They asked this 8. There are 8 components, 8 core components in IIP, which is coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery, all this. In this, which is first? All this component contributes 40% of IIP. See, IIP is 100, means all these components contribute 40%. In this, what is high? This is first. Okay, I think second, electricity. Third is steel. Okay, third is, I think, steel. Okay, third is steel. Then this is 4, I think. So you please check this. Okay, check this. But on a first, refinery products, electricity second. So in the meaning, what I am trying to say is that these are things which will impact, what means this will impact, or this will be the consequence of wholesale price index. These index, these index will have, or index of industrial production and all, because there are inputs for manufacturing. All this are input components. Input components is what we are measuring in wholesale price index. Okay, and then the point is that, as I told you, wholesale price index was high. Okay, if you see, I'll show you the map. If you happen to see wholesale price index, okay, wholesale price index was high. So this is the point. This is consumer price index. Okay, this is consumer price index. This is wholesale price index. Why wholesale price index was high is that because the input costs of so many products, because of the supply problem due to Russia Ukraine crisis, was more. So COVID was there, then Russia problem was there, Russia Ukraine problem was there. Hence you had all these commodity prices increasing. So all the so look at it, all the commodity prices in the world was high. So all the commodity prices in the world was high. Increase in commodity prices. So when the commodity prices is increasing, see, if it is increasing like this, what is the meaning of that? If all this, so this is all commodity. Okay, this is all commodity, and all this are, see, all coal, food, base metal, fertilizer, all this are input for manufacturing, correct? Manufacturing contributes 65% in what? Wholesale price index. So when this is input is increasing, manufacturing will show an increase in price, or this index will show an increase in price. Hence the WPI will increase. WPI, why it is increasing? Because of the supply constraint in all these commodity prices. And that is what will, see, that is what increased, that is what I said, that is what increased all this cost. And hence what you should do, you as a government should increase federal rate la, because inflation is increasing. You have to reduce the money supply. Already global problem is there. So you having a low rate of interest will increase supply la. So you have to increase your rate. Correct? Your rate has to be increased. Then your money supply will reduce, inflation will reduce. See, look at what these federal rates have done. It was like this. But look at how they have increased. How they have increased. So they have increased. La. So now the inflation has reduced. I showed you in previous slide. The inflation actually reduced. But there is a consequence of this. This is United States federal rates. When United States federal rates increase, what happens is that they start pulling out money. So foreign portfolio investment, they start pulling out money from the developing markets, especially developing markets. In India also, when the federal rates increased, FPI, they start pulling it back. Why? Because when you have cheap money, you can invest anywhere, especially in developing countries. But when the money becomes costly, you actually reduce it. Okay, reduce the investment. You start taking back the money to your own market. So that is how it is. And why inflation? See, that is what I said. Food and energy prices, global prices, crisis due to the invasion of Russia. This is all in all the countries it is high. Correct? Because of that, all this, and hence what happened? Rising bond yields. This you should know. This time, this is a question. This rising bond yields, if you see, the meaning is that bond 100 rupees, 10% interest means, if you see, the bond price lowers. Bond price lowers. Bond price lowers. So it becomes, keep on lowering means your yield is increasing. That is, your output is increasing because 100 rupees 10 rupees interest is okay. But if you see 80 rupees the bond value, you are actually increasing your yield. So increasing the yield, what happens is that, meaning, what is the meaning? What is the meaning is that, see, look at all this increase. In all these corporates, all these markets, all the corporate bonds yield increase. That is what they are saying. You give me higher interest. What is the mean? In simple terms, bond yield. You give me higher interest, then only I will fund you. I cannot fund you easily. You give me higher yield. But if I give you higher yield, I will not have more money to invest. Correct? For 100 rupees I am having now, I can invest. But if you say, hey, you give me 50 rupees. And there was a problem, corruption also, this is the same kind of thing, 100 rupees is there for a program means, if I take 40 rupees from you, 60 only will be remaining. Similarly, in corporate, in this bond concept and all, bond value, if I give you 100 rupees and you give me 10 rupees as interest, okay. But Anna, what I say is that 100 I cannot give. I cannot give you 100 rupees. I will give you only 80 rupees. But Anna, you should give me the same amount of return as an 100 rupee bond. So the yield is actually increasing. So yield, when it is increasing, that means your economy or your company bond is not that much, they are not that much in demand. So see, hardening of bond yields. This happened in all these countries. All the countries, the hardening of bond yields happened because of the inflation and many other problems which the world was facing. Hence also, so interest rates increased. Interest rates increased to reduce your money supply. And also, as a consequence, look at it. So interest rate increased. Correct? Interest rate at the time, see, from June, July 2022, it increased. Now look at this. Commodity prices decrease. All the commodity prices decreasing. All the commodity prices decreasing. The meaning of this is that When the flow of money is high, you have a higher inflation. So that is what is called as this, cost push, or not supply side demand problem. So you are having this, or more money. You have more money chasing few articles. Inflation will be high. What you do is you cut this. Here you cut this. Hence, less money will be there chasing a number of articles. Hence, you will bring down the cost. Sorry, bring down the inflation. When you bring down the inflation, wholesale price index will lower. Correct? This is what is the meaning of, see, all this lead, zinc, all these are products, components of wholesale price index, because they are measuring manufacturing. So, and oil prices also reduced. Oil prices, if you happen to see all this input component, okay, input components, this was a very important thing. Input components, one thing we discuss, see, all the commodity prices, like input components, you had all these things. Input component of see, all the petroleum is also an input component, right? So so what you have to know is that once this happened, the inflation actually reduced, and that is what you are seeing. So now look at it, inflation is reducing, but one last feature. But why this CPI this is CPI, consumer price index, why this is high? Why this is high in spite of all this is because it has services component. The services which I said, recreation, education, health, all this is actually increasing, becoming costly. Hence, you are having a lot of issues due to, in urban area. That is why you are having this monetary policy committee, which is increasing, or they are the excess funds they have to now remove. That is why they have this last one. Okay, look at this. They have this big reverse repo rate. Okay, reverse repo rate is deposition of my bank's money into RBI. RBI giving you interest. Correct? But Anna, they have now new floor of, see, they have what is called as they have this new, okay, STF. Where is this STF? Okay. While the SDF standing deposit, they have replaced this. This time prelims. Look at this. Prelims question. They have removed, or they have now standing deposit rate, which is collateral free. Reverse repo rate, you had to give a collateral. For this standing deposit rate, you need not give a collateral, and you can park your money in RBI and get your interest. And that is a change they have brought. And they have, what they have done, they have increased everything. Cash reserve ratio, they have increased. STF, they have reverse repo ratio. This is similar to reverse repo without a collateral. This they have increased. Repo rate, they have increased. All this, why they have increased? To reduce money supply. So in order to reduce money supply, in order to reduce inflation, you have to increase all this policy rate. And this is what is called as the monetary policy of RBI. And these are the policy rates. So look at it. All this has increased. Your policy rate, if they increase, what is the meaning of increasing policy rate? Now, they will ask you this. And what you should know is that when you increase policy rate, liquidity reduces. Your increase policy rate, this is increasing policy rate, correct? This is repo rate increase, SDF increase, MSF increase, all the CRR is increasing. All this, if you increase, you are reducing the supply of money. You are reducing the money supply, and thereby you are reducing inflation. This is the concept of inflation. I hope this video was useful to you. I'll make more such videos about economic survey. You can put in your doubts in the comment. We'll see more such videos in the future. Thank you.